The joy of unpaid labor. Welcome to Change the Conversation with the Hopefulist. My name is Wendy McClure, and it's time we had a conversation about living in a patriarchy and how that affects our lives. Together, we can make a difference and change the conversation. Welcome. I thank you for being here, for opening your mind and exploring things that you may never have considered before. By living in this patriarchal system, it has affected every single aspect of our lives. Whether we have realized it or not, whether we know it or not, that's exactly what's happening. And I have been victim to it most of my life. And now that I've started to question everything, my eyes are being opened to a whole new reality. And I want to share that reality with you, mostly to try and change the system, to try and make it so that it's not okay to shame women and judge women for not doing things that society deems is appropriate for them, that what is their job, that's what they're here for. You know, it is not one particular woman's job to keep the human race going or to supply able-bodied workers for the government or to make sure that the human race doesn't run out. That is not one particular woman's job. Now, what would be beneficial is if the government made it more appealing to have children, if they gave better health care, if there was better daycare options, if baby formula and everything related to babies wasn't astronomically expensive, if schools were safe and you weren't afraid to send your child to school in fear of a school shooting every day, I am sure that more and more women would choose to have babies. But since they don't want to put that part of the work in, they would rather just restrict women and tell them it is their responsibility to keep the human race going. And when that doesn't work, well, then we're just going to make sure that if you get pregnant, you're going to stay pregnant. So, with that being said, there are all kinds of things that the system has made look alluring to us that we know really isn't something that we enjoy. Let's talk about how, and they don't do it as much anymore, but if you research some ads from back in the 50s and even the 60s, there were all of these ads that glorified cleaning, that glorified cooking and taking care of your family. And, you know, again, this is going to sound odd when you first hear it because it's something you have never considered before. But why is it only the woman that has to be in charge, that has to have the, has to be the one to be the cleaner of the house, the cook of the house, the laundry of the house? It all falls on the woman, where the man has absolutely no responsibility. And again, going back to the 50s and 60s, things are a little bit different now. Not a lot, a little bit, but they're better. Progress, we'll take it. But there were actual ads, make sure that he comes home to a spotless home and have the kids all dressed and ready, and you be at the door waiting for him with a cocktail in your hand, looking presentable from head to toe after you've been, taking care of babies all day. And this was the norm. This is what was the general idea put out to women, is how they were to run their households, that they were supposed to do everything that they were doing all day, taking care of kids and cleaning up poop and throw up and, making sure that they have their naps on time and doing all of this stuff. And then you're supposed to be looking nice and sexy for when your man comes home from a hard day's work, because your day wasn't a hard day's work, was it? No, they've never, ever alluded to the fact that the woman staying home, taking care of the children and taking care of the house, has had a hard day's work. But it is hard, and it doesn't end at 5 o'clock. It goes on until 5 o'clock the next day. And the next day, there is no vacation. There is no time clock. You are on 24/7 with the children and the house for the rest of their lives, for the rest of your life. And not only is that not discussed, it's not discussed because there's no glory in that. They try to make it appeal to women that this is how it should be when your man gets home. But they wouldn't give you the credit for actually doing it. You know, if you actually did it, then that was just your job. There was no appreciation. There was no celebration. There was no, yay, you got it done. No, it was just what was expected. So this is what I wanted to talk about today. The joy of unpaid labor and how they make it seem so sexy. You know, we're waking up to some of this stuff now. And that's a good thing. But we have a very, very far way, a long way to go. You know, when it comes to running a household, when you're the one that is making sure that the kids are getting to where they need to be, you're making the appointments for the doctors, for the sporting events, for all of the things, the parties that they need to go to, the play dates. You're also making sure that you're doing what you need to do, whether it be work, getting the bills paid, getting the cleaning done when it's supposed to be, making sure that the meals are ready for everyone, all three of them. You know, even if you're not supplying lunch in the moment, you're often supplying lunch beforehand so they have it in the moment. There's all of these things that we do that really, if you think about it, is very much what a CEO does for a company or a corporation. They implement strategies to make sure everything runs smoothly. They make sure that the deadlines are met. They make sure that everything runs as optimally as possible to save on costs. This is what women do in the household for decades and centuries. And yet, it still, to this day, is not considered valued work. It is just work that women do. And let's talk about that for a minute. You know, all of the cooking, the cleaning has fallen on women forever. But when it comes to the job of being a chef, mostly a male-dominated field until recently, they got paid. And they got paid pretty well for it. So they're getting paid for cooking for others. But women who cook for her family not only don't get paid, but don't even get praise, don't even get appreciation most of the time. You know, sometimes you hear, oh, thanks for dinner, honey. That was wonderful. I'm sure that they don't get that every single time they make a meal. Unlike the chef who gets paid every single time he makes a meal. You know, it turns out that men work for 3 Ps. We've talked about the 3 Ps before. These are a different 3 Ps. We've talked about the 3 Ps that men are responsible for. Men are responsible for protecting, for providing, and for procreating. And now men work for 3 Ps, which is pay, praise, or pleasure. And This is already exampled in the chef incidents where when men cook, they get paid for it. So men will sometimes cook because they enjoy it. Men will mow the lawn. Men will wash the car. And it was pointed out to me that these jobs, the washing of the car and the mowing of the lawn, there's a chance that they could get praise for that. And that's why it's considered a man's job, is they don't mind doing that as much because the next door neighbor could be like, hey, great edging on that lawn, looked great. Or you're driving down the road and somebody at the light's like, oh, nice ride. Yeah, it looks nice and clean and shiny, doesn't it? I just waxed it. That's praise. So when it comes to things that potentially won't get praise, like cleaning toilets, doing the dishes in the sink, they won't even bother to try to do those jobs. They just expect it to be on the woman because women are in charge of dirty, thankless jobs, not men. And if you pay attention, a lot of men now, when they do, in fact, do the dishes, they announce it to their wife. Like, I did the dishes. All right, thank me. Again, working for praise. So, ladies, I want you to know it's okay to hate cleaning. It's okay to hate cooking. It's just one of those things that we have been told that we need to love. And we know that we don't love it. We've always known that. They can put out as many commercials as they want. We don't find it sexy. But I do want you to think about the comparison of the jobs that men do compared to the jobs that women do. And again, I think you will come to the conclusion that men are only doing jobs that give them pay, praise, or pleasure. My husband actually loves to cook. He cooks most of our meals. I am grateful for that. We all should be grateful for that because I'm not a very good cook, but this gives him pleasure. It also gives him a chance to get praise from other people that he cooks for. So when we start to talk about these things, it starts to disrupt the system. It starts to show the cracks in the dream, in the play that they've been selling us all of this time. Another thing that's kind of along the same veins is motherhood. We're all told about the glory of motherhood, but yet we very rarely talk about the real issues and the real down and dirty that happens every day when you are a mother. Another thing that is looked down upon is talking bad about your mother. And I do believe that the reason that people who dare to speak out against their mother, their parents, the relationship that they had with them and how it affected them, I believe that people are still shamed and judged for doing that because the system, the patriarchal system, wants motherhood to be this glory job. And if people started speaking about things that weren't so glorious about it, it might not seem so alluring. So when somebody tries to be honest about the effect that a parental relationship has had on their life, they are shamed. That is your mother. You only get one mother. How dare you talk about your mother that way? Well, how dare my mother treat me the way that she did? Why isn't that, welcomed or even open to? I have had a big struggle when it comes to my relationship with my mother. I did not have a great relationship with my mother. My mother often made me feel like a terrible person. And it was even more hurtful to me when I would go on social media on, days that were, Mother's Day, or when it was their mother's birthday, all of these people talking about how much they love their mother and how they could never get through life without their mother and how much they appreciate their mother. And it used to hurt me to my core that I didn't feel that way. But now I realize it's okay that I don't feel that way, because I know now that probably a lot of those posts that I'm seeing are not an actual reality either. They're just doing what is expected of them to do, because that's what children are expected to do. They're expected to put their parents up on a pedestal and to praise them for every single thing that they did, but never talk about the ways that they affected their lives adversely. That's frowned upon. You're not supposed to do that. And again, I think the reason for that is they want to make sure that motherhood appears all roses and music and flowers. They want to have this illusion that motherhood is going to be grandiose and rewarding. And it is all of those things. Don't get me wrong. I think that parenthood, the unconditional love of your children, when they're first born, I think that you have to go above and beyond what natural human beings should have to do to take care of these children and get them all of the things that we are expected to provide for them in this day and age. And I am sure that it is a love like no other. I do not have children. I don't know, but I do imagine that type of love is inviolable. I wish that I had something like that. The closest I have is my dog. And I got to tell you, I love that dog. Oh my gosh, do I love that dog. So I can only imagine how it is with a child. So motherhood can be all of those things, but it can be all of the other things too. But we're not supposed to talk about that. Why is that? Why is it that we're not allowed to talk about that? Men are allowed to get frustrated with their children. They are. When men start to get frustrated, the wife shoos them off into the other room. Go ahead, go relax. Go have a drink. Go just get away for a few minutes. Nobody ever says that to the mother. When is the last time you saw a mother told by the children's father, go take a break? And I'm not saying it never happens. Of course it does from time to time, but it is far from the norm. It is far from even thought of. Women are expected to be perfect. And then when, the majority of women are on anti-anxiety and antidepressants, we wonder, well, what's wrong with women? Why are women so depressed and so stressed out? Well, could it be possibly that you have set us up for a life that is not sustainable? They say we can have it all. When they say all, do they mean anxiety, depression, overwhelm, and exhaustion? Because that's what we're getting. So I think that you need to be honest more about how your life is, how the reality of your life is. Don't let them shame you for being exhausted, for hating to cook and to clean, for wanting to get takeout or have your husband stop and get a pizza on the way home, or you stop and get a pizza on the way home. That's okay. You're allowed to be tired. You can't do it all, no matter what they say. And all of this social media and these, perfectly filtered pictures of women having it all and doing it all, it's all BS. It's all fake. And we all know this at this point, but yet we still fall for it. We still look at it and think, why can't I do it? It is a constant revolving door of shame, judging ourselves, and making us feel bad. And when we feel bad and bad about ourselves, nobody is going to be happy. So I want you to know that you can structure your life around the things that you love. You can structure your life so that you don't have to do the down and dirty and the nitty gritty if you don't want to. You can have a conversation with your spouse about an equal distribution of work. And if that's not going to work, then hire somebody to do that part of it for you if you're in a position to do so. Now, some women don't have a problem with doing it all. They're convinced that that's how they want it to be, and that's fine. If you're good with it, then go with it. But if you're not happy with it, and I really urge those who think they are to question why they think they're happy with it. But if you are not happy with it, it's okay for you to make changes, because women are encouraged to put the men and the children in their lives first. When does the woman get to put herself first? Ever? So for the rest of her life, she's going to be in service to her husband and her children? Yeah, I've got a problem with that. And I think a lot of women are having a problem with that. And that's why a lot of them are just choosing not to date anymore. That's why a lot of women, when they get divorced, they stay single. Because they know that having to take care of everybody else is exhausting. And they never get what they want ever. Because when they have the audacity to do something that they want to do, they are called selfish. They are shamed by others. They are judged. Now, let's give this example for just a moment. The neighbors pop in unexpectedly. The house is a mess. Who's getting judged for that situation? Well, of course, the woman is, because it's the woman's job to keep the house. But what if there was a stay-at-home dad and the neighbor popped in? Do you think that the neighbor would still hold the male responsible in that situation? I can guarantee you they won't. They will still think that it is a woman's job to keep the house clean and orderly. And if it is not, that is who is going to get the thoughts, the shame, and the judgment. So if that happens soon and somebody comes in and the house is a mess, say, sorry, I keep telling him he needs to clean this mess up and he just hasn't gotten around to it yet. This is how you start to change ideals. This is how you start to change how people view a situation that has only ever been viewed one way and start to make it so that it can be viewed in more than one way. Because how fun would that be to say if somebody comes into the house and it's a mess and you're like, I've been on his butt to clean this mess up and he just hasn't gotten around to it yet. What are you going to do, men? It's the same exact thing they do to us. And that's perfectly acceptable. So I say, flip the script. Let them know that it is not your job entirely. And when you put it all on the man, maybe it will ring a little light bulb in their head that maybe it shouldn't all be on the woman either, especially now that the majority of women are also working outside of the home, right? So if you've always felt like you were the wrong kind of woman because you didn't love to cook and clean and, do the poopy diapers and all that stuff, no, you are not the wrong kind of woman. If you ever saw the movie A League of Their Own, I can practically recite that movie word for word. It's such a good movie. If you've not seen it, you have got to see it. But there's one part where the woman played by Rosie O'Donnell was saying, the boys that I grew up with always made me feel like the wrong sort of girl or, a bad sort of girl or not even a girl. But now that I'm with you girls who love to play baseball, I realize there's a lot of us. And that's what they do. They try to make it seem that the one outlier, the one woman who doesn't like to cook and clean, who doesn't want to get married and have children to be crazy. Well, there's something wrong with you. How could you not want to cook and clean and be married and have children and raise a family? How could you not want that? What is wrong with you? So you're shaming somebody for how they feel about themselves based on your societal norms. And they do that purposely so that anybody else who might want to do the same thing sees how that first person is treated and says, oh, I don't want to be shamed like that. That looks terrible. I don't want anybody to do that to me. So you keep your mouth shut and you go along with the program. And that's the whole point. That's what they planned. That's exactly what they wanted you to do. So start speaking out. I really want you to start speaking out about the things that you don't want to do, about things that weren't always perfect in your life. If you didn't have the perfect parents, it's okay to put it out there. It's actually important to tell your story so that other people like me who see nothing but glory on Mother's Day know I'm not alone. I'm not the only one that didn't have a great, wonderful, fantastic relationship with my mother, and that there are other people that feel like they don't want to make those posts either, that I'm not alone. This is why we need to talk about these things and put them out there, because once somebody feels safe to tell their truth, that's when we all become who we are meant to be. Once you feel safe to express yourself exactly as you are, exactly who you are, you become unstoppable. You become the person that you have always wanted to be. You become the person that has the courage and the confidence to stand up and to speak out and to get what you want in this life. And that is what I want for you. So, the glory and the joy of unpaid labor. Yes, there is none. We should be paid for the labor that we do. And although we are a long way off from that, we don't have to like it. And we don't have to stay quiet about it. And we don't have to put up with the judgment anymore. Because there's a lot more of us coming to these realizations than people who are being stuck in the old mindset. So keep that in mind. I want you to start exploring what you'd truly like to do, how you would like to spend your time. What is it that has always interested you that you haven't explored yet? You might just find something that will bring you so much joy you had no idea. Like I have found with pickleball. I never even heard of pickleball a couple of years ago. Now I do it 6 to 7 times a week. And I can't wait to do it. So I dedicate a lot of my time to that because that's what I enjoy. Maybe you will like rock climbing. Maybe you will like crocheting or cross stitch or quilting. Or maybe you will like cross road rage racing. Maybe you will like playing football. Maybe you will like long distance running or hiking up mountains. There's all kinds of things that we can do. And they don't have to be just woman things. We can do whatever we want. There are no boxes anymore. And that's what I want you to know. Don't live in someone else's box. Create your own open concept world. And if you want to know more about opening up that world for yourself, please feel free to contact me. You can go to my website, hopefulist.com. You can send me a message. You can look around to see what I have to offer you and how we can go about building the life that you have always dreamed of. The one where you are in control. Imagine that. You are in control. It's possible because I'm there. I am in control of my life. Do I have to do things that I don't like to do? Sometimes? Absolutely. Do I still do most of the household labor? Yes, I do. But I also get to do a lot of other things that I want to do. And I have found that my trade-off is worth it. Yours may not be. This is what you need to figure out for yourself. So if today's episode resonated with you at all, please pass it along to someone you think would like it as well. Please make sure that you have hit that subscribe or follow button. There is no cost associated with it, but you will get a new episode every time one is released immediately to the listening device of your choice. And if you haven't yet, please hit that review button and leave me a review. It really helps for other people to see the podcast when you leave me a review. So I would really appreciate it if you would do that. And like I said, just share any of my social media posts. That really, really helps get my message across. So I hope you have a fantastic week, and I want you to go out there and be badass. Thank you for joining me in this conversation. Together, we are better. Please visit my website at hopefulist.com and remember to hit that subscribe or follow button.